Hey guys, Omerko here, self-taught web developer. Few months ago, alpha version of Bootstrap 5 came out, but I didn't make a video on that topic. Not long ago, a beta version of Bootstrap 5 came out, so for today I plan to do just that, a video for Bootstrap 5. So plan for today is to take a look into Bootstrap 5 and also to see kinda what it offers to us, its documentations, etc. And after that we will create the landing page that you can see right now on my screen. Landing page is fairly simple. There is a navigation bar at the top, a little bit of drop downs, there is a quick Jumbotron component which is changed now, you will see how. There is simple grid based on 3 columns, also there is kind of project sections with cards, etc. So we could inspect this also, open up the view for a mobile phone, and you can see that this whole landing page is fully responsive and everything looks nice even on smaller screen devices. So let's first jump into Bootstrap 5 and explore a bit of that. So now I'm currently on a Bootstrap 5 website, and you will have this link down in this video description. First thing that you can see, there is 5.0.0 beta version, which is currently active for this Bootstrap. If I would scroll down a bit, we can see the whole installation and also JS deliver with Bootstrap 5. If we would copy this CSS link that we are getting into our HTML, we will get CSS whole styling of Bootstrap 5 and styling for its components and its classes. Also down here we have the whole JavaScript bundle, which will kinda import the whole Bootstrap 5 JavaScript with Popper.js. Few crucial things here. Bootstrap 5 changed the version of Popper.js, so now it is using Popper version 2. So it's not kinda important, as once we import this into our project, the Bootstrap 5 we will have all of it ready to deliver the new landing page, but the Popper.js will be in a newer version. Also, one more crucial change for Bootstrap that happened in this latest version, Bootstrap remove jQuery from usage fully. So now if you wish to kinda use models or popovers or drop downs with some dynamic fields, or maybe even just using it through a JavaScript, you will be able to use it through a JavaScript now. You won't need to use a jQuery anymore at all. Well, you won't even have the option to use a jQuery. There are also Bootstrap icons now, which are kinda new project for Bootstrap. Bootstrap had icons before, but now those are kinda fully separated from Bootstrap. So now they will come in Bootstrap 5, but also you could use this whole library of icons outside of the Bootstrap project. There is also new official themes for Bootstrap, which were developed by a Bootstrap team. If I go up and I go into docs. Docs are fairly simple and similar as older versions Bootstrap had. So now the Bootstrap will also accept the RTL, so right to left, not left to right websites. Then also there is whole introduction, download, etc. There is a customization of the Bootstrap theme. There is whole layout now. There were some crucial changes to the layout and the utility classes. Now the Bootstrap will also use gutters, and also there were changes to, for example, margin left class and margin right class to margin start and margin end class. There are also changes to margin X and margin epsilon, which are kinda by the X or epsilon axis. Content, forms and components are fairly similar as in older versions. First of all, I mentioned Jumbotron. Jumbotron is fully removed now from components, and now there are utility classes for background colors. So now if you wish to use a similar section as a Jumbotron, you will just add a background color to your section with that utility class. If I would go also into the example of Bootstrap 5, examples are really the same as in Bootstrap 4, but with newer classes that Bootstrap 5 offers. This is the whole icons now which you can see this is a version 1 of those, which is kinda developed library from Bootstrap. The themes that I already mentioned, the themes are, well, these are all the paid themes, but really great themes using just Bootstrap 5. And also we have Expo, which is kinda news section, and the blog section, which is kinda latest updates from Bootstrap. As you can see, this Bootstrap came just a few days ago. So for my landing page that I will develop today, we will use Bootstrap 5 beta version, and also the HTML is fairly simple, and we will use just the HTML code. So we will code this entire landing page using just HTML code and Bootstrap. There won't be need in a CSS or any JavaScript code at all. So if I wish to use a Bootstrap 5 in my project, I will come here and copy this CSS from this box, and now in my code, after my title, I could paste my Bootstrap 5 CSS. Also, as I will use the drop downs, I will need kinda this JavaScript, so I will copy that also, and just below where my body is ending, I will paste that JavaScript script. With this, our HTML file is ready to use Bootstrap 5. What I will do, I will first code Bootstrap 5 navigation. So regarding the navigation bar fairly, well, simply stay the same. Navigation bar, I will first put the comment for it. So if I wish to use navigation bar, I will use nav HTML5 element, and I will add nav bar to it. Also nav bar expand LG, also nav bar dark, and let me add BG dark. So these classes are all classes from Bootstrap. So end of navigation bar, end of comment here. So the first class navbar will basically create the navbar for us. Navbar expand LG will make sure that our responsive button for our links inside of a navigation bar will be visible just on a smaller screen devices. Also, navbar dark will make the text inside of the navbar a bit darker, kinda grayish, and BG dark will make the background of the navigation bar dark. So going into the browser to see this HTML, you can see this kinda dark background, which is kinda navigation bar section for now. We don't have yet content inside, that's why we cannot see anything. So now let's continue creating our content here. So first of all, I will make sure that my navigation bar is nested inside of container, which will be fluid. That is okay. And few things first. I will first have my anchor tag, which will have a class of navbar brand. This here will be our kinda logo for our navigation bar. I will use a landing page text for the logo itself. I mistyped a bit, landing. That's okay. Then I should have that responsive button, which will be a button. Type could be just a button. The class itself will be navbar toggler, like this. And now if I wish to add that collapse animation to my button or smaller screen devices, I will use data toggle. And right now this won't work. In older versions of Bootstrap this worked this way, but now we also need to add BS in the middle. The reason for this, basically it will be data bootstrap toggle. So our HTML and our developers could know that this data attribute is coming from Bootstrap itself. So data bootstrap toggle will be collapse, and data bootstrap target will be, well, this will be dynamic, so I will just pass responsive nav here as res nav. Content here for my button will be just the icon, well, span element with the icon, and the class will be navbar toggler icon, which is the icon created for this navbar toggler. So going now into browser and refreshing the page, we can see that logo on the left side, but we don't have that button on the right side. If I would inspect my screen and see my page on the smaller screen devices, kinda Pixel 2 mobile phone, we can see that button, which is currently not working at all. So I zoomed in a bit, so I cannot zoom out now. But yeah, this button entirely will be just on a smaller screen devices, and it will collapse the content that we need. So let's first create that content. To create the content, I will be still in my container fluid, and just down below I could create the div with classes of collapse and navbar collapse. If I wish this content to be collapsible with my button, I need to add the ID, and the ID will be the same as the data target here that I passed. So responsive nav, that's okay. First of all, I wish to have a couple of links in my navigation bar. Those will be unordered list, and it will hold the class of navbar nav, and I will add me auto at this point. So this means that on margin and margin right side, margin will be automatic, so the content that will come after this unordered list will be floated to the right side of navigation bar. Inside I wish to have my list item with nav item class, and each list item should hold the anchor tag with the class of nav link. As this is the first nav link in my navigation bar, I will also pass the active class here, which will kind of make this link active, that it will show this link as a current page basically, and the text will be just home. So let me copy this 2 times, nav item, let me remove this active here, that's okay. Here this will be about us, and this here will be services, that's okay. So I wish to create my services as a drop down. So to do that, next to my nav item, for it I will pass the drop down class, and also for my nav link I should pass drop down toggle class. So this will kind of make this link to work as a toggle. To it I need to pass data bs toggle, as we passed already for the button above, and that will be set to drop down this time, drop down, so it won't be collapse, but the drop down. The text will be services. So after my link, I could create the section that will be drop down basically, and I could just use unordered list and pass the class of drop down menu, and this menu will basically be my drop down. It is important to have your drop down right after the link for the drop down, because that is how it is styled in a Bootstrap 5. So what I wish to have in my drop down, I wish to have a list items and just anchor tags inside. So this one will basically lead to a hashtag, class will be drop down item, and text could be coding, for example. I could pass 2 more items here, 2 more list items here. This one will be designing, whatever, and programming. So that is it basically. So now if I would refresh my screen, we can see that there are our links. Home page is active, it is kind of current page. There is about us, there is services, which is drop down, working as a drop down. We could see coding, designing and programming there. Now let's create the content for the right side of our screen, kind of that search input box and search button. So if I wish to create the content on the right side, here where I'm ending my unordered list, I have my auto margin on the end. So basically whatever I create after this will be already on the right side. So first of all, I wish to create the form. Form won't have any action because we won't need that for now. Class for the form will be the flex, which is kind of, it will create this block as a flex block. So inside our items will be one next to each other, which is important because input and button inside should be next to each other. So input should be type of text, that's okay. Then class could be for control, which is a class from Bootstrap, it will style better. Then margin at the end could be set to 2 rems, kind of to have a bit of spacing there. And the placeholder, I will add a placeholder also, which could be search just. Then if I wish to create the button, I will just use a button here. The type will be submit, as this is search box, it should be submittable. Class for it could be btn outline primary, which is class also from Bootstrap 5 to color our button. The text for the button will be search. That's it. So now in my browser, if I refresh the page, on the right side we have that search input field and search button, which is good. If I inspect my element on smaller screen devices, we don't see our links and also we don't see search input and button, but if I open up my toggle here, we can see those links. The drop down is also working. There is search, input and search button, so this looks also good. Section after my navigation bar that I wish to create is header section. So header section won't hold a lot of content, just the title, some text and call to action button. So here after my navigation bar I could use a header comment. Let me add a header HTML5 element, yeah, and end of header as a comment. So for my header, to my header HTML5 element, I will add a class of container. So this won't be fluid, it won't be spread through entirety of my screen. It will be kinda in the center. Then text inside will be also text center basically. And background will be background light. So this background light, by adding this will kinda color my header to look grayish. So at this point we kinda have that Jumbotron without using the Jumbotron component from Bootstrap 5, which is better. There is less code here, which is good. So next thing, I wish to have my row, which is kinda normal, and py set to 2. This stands for padding to epsilon axis set to 2. So basically it will add a padding to top and bottom to 2 rems. So we will have a bit of spacing. So we don't need to use 2 classes now for padding top and padding bottom, but 1 class for both, which is good definitely. H1 will be hello world. Well, we'll hold the text just for the hello world. Paragraph could hold just lorem ipsum text. I will also add the class here for the paragraph, which will be lead class, kinda to make this paragraph a bit bigger. This is a class from Bootstrap, by the way, and its usage will basically give us a paragraph to look bigger, to have that leading text. And let's use anchor tag here, but I will add the classes of buttons. So btn primary, which will color our button, and also btn lg, which are also classes from older Bootstrap versions, and this btn lg will make our button larger. The text for the button will be contact us. So by this you can see that Bootstrap still can use buttons even though I am using the anchor tags here. On my screen, what I could see if I refresh the page, well, it is basically my Jumbotron itself. There is obviously a problem with my button, so let's fix that. So what I skipped here, I didn't create any column. That's why our kinda text, our anchor tag kinda spread through entirety of the row. So let's, I just cut out my content here and let's kinda create the column itself. So column MD of 8, which will be on medium screen sizes. It will take 8 columns, and also column of LG of 6. On a bigger screen devices, it will take 6 columns. By this, our kinda section will be in the, well, it will just take half of our screen, our container. And I will add the MX auto, which kinda stands for margin x-axis automatically, which will put our entire content in the middle of a screen, which is much better. After that, inside of this column, I will copy back my text here. Well, not text, but the content. So let's jump into browser again. If I would refresh my screen right now, we can see that our contact us is also okay. Everything looks great. Next section that I wish to code would be services. As we have 3 services in our drop down for our navigation bar, let's put those also in 3 columns in one section of our landing page. So first of all, let me put the services comment here, and here we could add a class. Well, let's add a section with the class of services. This class is not the Bootstrap 5 class. I just added it in any case if I would need to kinda jump into services and style those through my CSS. So let me also add the end of services comment here. So what I wish to have for my services. First of all, I will have my container. As I have my container, I should also have my row. Row will be row, but also it will hold text center class, and margin epsilon axis to 5 to have a bit of spacing to top and bottom. Each row should have a columns, and this time we will use those columns to kinda render our services. So first column should be column MD4. Let me make a bit of spacing here, not 5 but 4, and what I wish to have out of my services. Each service should have an image. So image for the source, I will copy the source image here from my left side. You could use our own images, nothing important. Alt name could be image just. Then I should pass the classes. So I will first pass BD placeholder image class and also rounded circle class. These classes will kind of create the image to look like a circle itself, and the image will serve us as a placeholder of that section of the image. So width will be 140 pixel and height of the image, I mistyped, let me fix that, height will be also 140 pixel. After that I will have my H3 as a heading for coding, as this is my first service. Paragraph could use just lorem ipsum text, that is okay. And well, let's add a button here. So I will add a paragraph, and inside I will nest again anchor tag using it as a button. So this one will be btn secondary, and it will just say view more with a bit of icon here, Raccio, which is not the icon obviously from a Bootstrap, as those are using classes, but this is just from normal web icons. So now on my screen, if I refresh the page, we will have that content here. Our image is not good, but let's fix the image and let's also add other two columns. So the image is not good because here is rounder, should be rounded, and let me copy this column. 1, 2, that's okay, and let me use the different images now. So the next image for my second column will be this one. Width and height are the same, and it will use designing, that is okay. Then I will have the third column, let me change also the image for that. So here, and this will be programming. So let's jump back. So now if I refresh the screen, we can see that our images are okay. We have that spacing to a top. We have a normal paragraph, everything is in center as we use text center on our row. View more button is there, you can see that kind of icon from web, everything looks good. So let's jump into the next section, which will be project section. It will use the same grid, which by the way, if I inspect here, you can see that on smaller screen devices, everything looks pretty much good, right? Everything is still responsive, and we will do the same thing for our project section, but there we will have whole figures rendered. So jumping into the project section. Project section, as well the rest of our sections is pretty simple. So projects, I will add a section with the class of projects. Also this is not the class from Bootstrap 5, just my own. Next section will be container, which will hold the padding at epsilon axis by 5, that is okay. Not padding, I could add the margin, but that's pretty much similar. I could also have the row and G3 here. The G3 will basically put gap between columns for this row to 3 rems, so those won't be stacked together, but kinda more spread out. Let me put the end comment for the projects, so end of projects. And inside we could have a couple of columns. Let's create the first one. The first column will be column MD6, which will take half of the screen, kinda on a medium screen devices, and on larger screen devices, column LG4. There will be kinda 3 in one row at this point, because the Bootstrap itself accepts 12 columns. So now what I wish to have inside, well, I should have a card to create my figure. So card, and I will add a shadow class to my card. This shadow will kinda add the shadow around the card, so it looks that this is not on our landing page, kinda it's floating over it. So for the card, let's add the image. Let me copy the URL of the image. Alt name again could be just the image. What I wish to have here is the width to 100%. It will take up the full width of the card, and the height to 250 pixels. It will be fixed for all our figures here. And if I wish to add the content for my figure, for my card, I will use card body here and add the content inside. So I will first create the paragraph with card text, which will style this text a bit differently. I use a lorem ipsum text just for the example, and we could have two buttons here, or at least one button and one kind of muted text, so we could show when this project was posted. So for this I need to create the div. Let me add a bit of spacing also here. So div will be the flex. It will create the flexed wrapper for our content, so the content will be one next to each other. It will also add a justify content between, which will kinda add the spacing between our content, so button will be on the left side, that small kinda muted text on the right side. And let's add another one, so align items center. This class will kinda align the items in center by epsilon axis. So as I mentioned, I wish to first have my button here. Button could be type of a button, and classes for my button could be btn, btn sm for a small button, and btn outline secondary to kinda color it a bit. The text will be just view to kinda view this project itself. And let's add that small text. It will hold the text muted class, which will be kinda grayish text, and let's say just 9 minutes ago. That is okay. So now if I would refresh my screen, we can see that card, there is that image, text here, view button, and 9 minutes ago. So let's create the rest of our cards and see the whole project section, whole grid section, how it looks. To create the rest of the cards, I will just copy this 5 more times. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it will be 6 in overall. So let me jump into the next column. I will first change the image here. As I mentioned, you can use your own images and add, let's say, to 22 minutes ago. So for the third one, I will also change the image first. Image is changed. Let's add 1 hour ago text. Fourth one should also have a different image, so those that doesn't really look the same. So let's use 3 hours ago. Let's go to the next one. I know this could be kind of boring, but it is what it is. So 6 hours ago, and we have just one more. And we could jump into browser to check this out. Let's use 1 day ago. So let's jump into browser now. In my browser, if I would refresh my screen, we could see kinda that whole project section. We have the grid system set up. We have that gap class between our projects, our figures, our cards. If we would inspect our element, if I would shrink my screen a bit, we could see that we have just 2 projects in one line on a medium screen devices, and on a smaller screen devices there is just 1 project. So everything really looks good for now. So let's jump into footer now and develop our footer. So developing a footer will be really easy. So footer comment, footer HTML5 class. Let me add a background dark class to make the dark color as a background of our footer. Text should be muted, kinda grayish, and padding epsilon to be 3, kinda to have that spacing. Let me also add the end of footer. And for my footer, I don't wish to have a lot, maybe just container and paragraph inside. Should hold few classes, for example text light, and margin bottom to 1. So now I could use a copy icon from a web itself and Omerco, so it will be kinda copyright Omerco. On my browser, if I would refresh a page, at the bottom we will see that footer, everything looks good. Let's check once again how it looks on the mobile screen devices. Here, there is our navigation bar, which is toggleable. There is that Jumbotron section, which is now just normal section, normal header. Our services are okay, there are our projects, and there is our simple footer, and that is it basically. So you saw a bit of Bootstrap 5, how it's changed, you learned what was crucial, and kinda how could you easily create your own landing page. You also saw that this landing page doesn't really require really and good skills in coding, because it's pretty much easy, and Bootstrap 5 made this even easier in this version. Also, this is still a beta version of Bootstrap 5. There will be a stable version soon in the future, which will be probably, well, it will probably mostly be kept the same as this beta version, but it will be stable for development, and in the nearby future we could see more teams with it. Whole websites and applications will move towards Bootstrap 5, and even newer applications will use Bootstrap 5 through entirety of those. But in overall, that would be all for this video. I hope that you liked it. If you did, please click like and subscribe, as I am posting new content weekly. Thank you, and see you in the next one.